Time is the most valuable asset we human beings have on planet Earth. Whether most of us exchange time for money by pursuing a full-time job or 9 to 5, or others who invest money to outsource work and therefore have more time. But what exactly is time? So time is usually measured in two ways. Either how long things take, or when an activity takes place. And in case you're a procrastinator, as I was a lot in the past, now I've improved a lot, an average person will become about 76 years old, which might sound a lot or not, but if we see how much is 76 years in days, it's approximately 28,000 days. And if you keep in mind that we as human beings sleep a lot, need to cook every day, need to eat every day, and spend a certain amount of time in school, there's not much time left. And the second example is from a famous Chinese philosopher called Confucius. Some of you might know him, some not. He said, we all have two lives. The second one begins once we realize that we only have one life. So now I'm going to move on, naming a few examples. So either from my past experiences, or also I asked some friends and family members what they can tell me about it. So it's mainly how we can spend our time more wisely. So if we start out with, this is a bit more from the business perspective, but you can make use of it as well, is how to invest your time by, for example, learning a high income skill. You might think, what is a high income skill? So it's mainly a skill that not every person has and could deliver. So whether it's video editing or being a videographer, or having some marketing skills and ads, so you could help companies run ads for them. Or another service could be like if you're good at writing. So you could also do that as a service to then sell later on. So it's also called copywriting. And so those are skills you need to learn, which take up some time at the beginning until you are becoming an expert in that field. But once you have that skill, you can sell it as a service to companies or businesses or people, and therefore not get paid by hours, like as you would do if you would have a normal 9 to 5, but you can be paid by the skill, so by the service. Let's say you do video editing, you can say per video I take 100 euros, for example. And so no matter how much it takes, no matter how long the video is, you are getting paid 100 euros. Of course, you would have to make an agreement with the client beforehand and both sign it to make sure that you really get paid and that you're not getting scammed in some way or another. But that's another theme. So now continuing, the next step would be delegating things. So once you have some amount of money, as I already mentioned at the beginning, you can delegate tasks. So let's say you're running a YouTube channel, you have different steps, right? You have the scripting, you have the recording, you have the making, like editing the video afterwards, if you do that. And also doing the thumbnail and finding the right title. So you have to do some research also on that, right? So maybe you could then outsource the work, fully focus on recording. You can outsource the editing part, you can outsource the thumbnail part, and therefore you would have then more time for other things. Things that help me personally, now moving on to the next step, is making a daily schedule. So what I like to do is the evening before, write down like a to-do list of 3 main tasks that I want to have done by the next day. So it's mainly those tasks I really don't want to do, but which are really important. So it's also called as eat the frog first. So doing the tasks you really don't want at the beginning of the day. And then later on doing other tasks which are also important, but not as important, and that are more easily for you to get done. So I would write that down, make a list of those 3 things. Then you can also make like subcategories of other tasks that you would like to do after those main 3 tasks, if you have time for that. Yeah, so it's really up to you how you want to do it, but you can make a to-do list. If you don't like the idea to do it the evening before, you can also do it in the morning of the day where you want to get those things done. But I just prefer doing it one day in advance. Another thing would be set clear goals. I'm sure we all have somewhat life goals. And if you don't have an idea, just really sit down by yourself, have a pen and a piece of paper, and be sure you're not distracted by anyone or by your phone or anything else. And just think about what would you like to achieve or have in life. It could be anything really, from materialistic things, if you think that that's something that you would like to have or must have, or I don't know, like visiting the world, or visiting different countries, cultures, or just experiences you would like to do. Just write them down. And let's say, this is quite a stupid example, but just to make you understand it a bit better, is to, let's say you want to buy a new book, which costs 40 euros, quite expensive, let's say. But you're broke, you only have 2 euros, and you say, there's no way I can get to those 40 euros quite fast. So for example, what you could do, let's say you you live in a bigger city, it's summer. What you could do is next morning buy 6 water bottles, like half-a-liter bottles, for 2 euros, and then sell each for 2 euros once you're in the city center to tourists, for example, who are very thirsty and who are willing to pay that price. Then, therefore, you would have spent 2 euros, and if you sell them all, you would have 10 euros at the, well, yeah, 10 euros more at the end of the day, or 12, depending on if you want to count the 2 euros spent at the beginning or not, of course. And then you would be a lot closer to your final goal of the 40 euros to then spend that on the book that you want to have, right? And so basically what you're doing is, the main goal, you're breaking it down into smaller goals to get to that goal. So I hope it makes sense. Otherwise, ask me in the comments afterwards, after the video down below, and I will be willing to answer your questions, of course. Then there's also limiting distractions, making sure that if you want to get something done, that there are no friends calling you at that time, there's no your parents who probably, or hopefully aren't around if you're like a bit younger, and they say, yeah, food's ready, you have to go. No, make sure you have that time just for you, let's say 1 hour, and then you work on the tasks that you have to do. Or also very important is, often friends ask you, hey, you want to go out, I don't know, get a drink or do an activity, which sometimes if you really need it, it's good. But it's also very important to learn to say no. And saying no, often we feel like pressured by the group to say yes, to go there, even though we might not really want to go do that activity. And yeah, just make sure you don't overthink it. It's fully understandable if you don't want to go. It's okay to say no, because in the end, you're working on the tasks which make you reach towards the final goal, or one of your life goals that you would like to achieve. And so always make sure to prioritize yourself first. So later on, if you want to get tasks done, also there's something called a Pomodoro technique, which I usually don't use because I'm quite disciplined to doing the tasks, but it could become handy for some people of you. So mainly the technique is that you put on a timer, either on your phone, but make sure that you have your flight mode on, activated, and make sure you're not going on social media or texting someone. Only use the timer app, and then put a timer on 25 minutes. So once it starts, you then count from 3, 2, 1, and then you fully focus on that task and you work on it for those 25 minutes. After those 25 minutes, once the time is done, you can take a 5-minute break. And that's literally the Pomodoro technique. Then you do that over and over again, 25 minutes work, 5-minute break, until you're done with the task or the tasks that you would like to have done by the day. And then another important thing is, at the end of the day, once you've seen how your day went, or you said, okay, was I really productive today or not? What you can do is reflect. So writing down also on a piece of paper or on a Word document, and reflecting on what went well during the day and what didn't go as planned. So for example, if you spent way too much time on your phone answering messages, let's say for 1 hour instead of half an hour, then you could write down, okay, I spent 30 minutes too much today on a time wasting thing, even though I could have worked those 30 minutes on my goals or tasks more productively. So that helps us a lot as well. So reflecting on that and then learning from that and implement things to improve your time spent for the next day so that you're more productive later on. And another thing that is very important is, even though, let's say, you work for 8 hours straight that day on your task and you feel quite productive, but at the end of the day you feel drained, it's also important to take time for yourself. So let's say if you know that the 15-minute walk or 15-minute walk throughout the day can help you stay more productive in the long term, then make sure that you take a break, those 15 minutes, go outside and walk. Same goes for example, if you know, okay, working out helps me a lot, but it takes 1 hour or half an hour. Invest it if you know that at the end of the day you feel much better. Because always being inside or just working is also not good for us. So keep that in mind also. So as you could see, those were a few examples. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit longer than the last one. If you don't mind, please write down in the comments what you've learned, if you've learned something. If things were unclear, you can also write that down, and we'll try to get back to you as fast as possible. And otherwise, I wish you a nice day, evening, whatever time you're watching this video, and see you next week. Thanks.